Hello and welcome to part 2 of Business Process Therapy, or how to improve your business processes. My name's Andrew, and today I'll be talking a little bit about how to analyze business processes, some of the things you need to do and ways of going about doing that. So there are lots of different frameworks for this. You will come across loads of these if you search them up. Pick one that you think works well for your circumstances and is good for your business, but please don't use all of it. They are huge, some of them. My personal favorite, ITIL, has loads and loads of things in there. Lots of great stuff about iteration and collaboration and building value. But if you try and do it all at once, it's just going to be far too much. Particularly the first time you go through this, or the first few times you go through this. One great thing in ITIL, and is relevant today, is their concept of begin where you are, understand where you are right now. So analyze what the process is as it stands before you start to move forwards. You've got to build that solid foundation. So you need to ask the questions around what is the process, who's doing what, when, what coordinates with who, and importantly, why is it that way? Why is the process set up like that? In fact, why is probably the most important thing you'll do in all of the analysis. You will essentially turn into a small child. When my son was 6, he used to ask why was absolutely his favourite question. Actually, he's 12 and it still is his favourite question, but it's an important question. So why are things not working? So for example, just keep digging. Marketing aren't getting their promotions out to coordinate with the product releases. Well, why is that happening? They don't get the information from product. Well, why not? It's all stored in the product roadmap. Well, why don't they have access to the product roadmap? Because it's in Jira and people are afraid they're going to break stuff. Yeah, that's just 3 levels. It could easily go way beyond that, but just keep digging until you get to the actual reason that things aren't happening and people aren't getting what they need. You've got to document all of this, of course. You also need to include things around why you're doing this, what the business drivers are, be they internal or external, what you hope the results of some of this will be, what the implications of this not working would be. All of those things all got to be documented. Now, gathering all of this information, lots of different ways you can do that. Some people are huge fans of doing big workshops, lots of fun, lots of energy, get everyone together, let's solve this problem. And they can be a great way of doing it, but they don't work for everybody. It'll depend on your circumstances. If your entire team's virtual, it's perhaps not such a good way of doing it. I personally tend to like smaller groups. It gives people more of a chance to contribute, a bit less intimidating, and focuses on the problems of that particular team. And then one-to-one meetings with stakeholders. The other thing to keep in mind with all of this is it's not going to be a one-shot deal. You aren't going to have one workshop and it's all going to be great and you're going to have all the information that you need. As you go through this, you'll find that what one team needs or the issues they're finding has an implication for another team. And then that's going to come back. And as you dig through this complexity, you're going to have to find you go round in circles. It's iterative. You're going to go round in circles on who's got the problem and how to fix this and what the implications are and how it affects them. The other important thing is somebody needs to own this. Somebody's got to drive it, whether that's an external consultant or whether that's somebody within the organization. It doesn't really matter, but somebody's got to own this and drive it, because otherwise it'll never happen. It'll just sit there. The other part of this I mentioned earlier, documentation. There are tools to do this. There are some very fancy tools. At this point, I don't know that you really need to do it. If you're just gathering that information, it doesn't matter. It can be on sticky notes, it can be scrawled on a whiteboard, make sure you take photos. It can be stored in a Google Doc, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want to do. Just keep a list and keep a track of all the things that people bring up and be able to go back to them with it. When it comes to doing the final document, again, there are tools for this, but all you need is something that people have access to, that they can easily see and they can provide feedback. Google Docs is great for that. So do it that way. Use Lucidchart for the diagrams, whatever you want to work on. Now, as you're going through all of this, you will get an absolute deluge of ideas on how to fix it, which is great, but it's not what we need right now. Make a note of them somewhere, spreadsheet, whatever, and then we can use those in part 3 when we're looking at the design of how to fix this. If you'd like to talk some more about this, or you'd like a free 30-minute call on a bit of process therapy, on how to analyze your processes and look for ways to fix them. I'll put a link to my Calendly in the comments below. And as always, if we aren't talking about these problems, we are never going to fix them.